guys, it's Olivie Blake, and this is me not writing. Okay, so it's a little bit of a weird time of day. It's very early, so the light is on, so this might look terrible. But I think you know by now I'm not exactly a cinematic expert, merely a savant. Just kidding. That's a little joke. I'm really bad at this. Actually, I took photography in high school and it brought my whole GPA down. I'm not very good at the visual arts. I wish I were. Sadly not. All I can do is write fictional blowjobs. You know, I say that like I write a lot of blowjobs, but I really don't very much anymore. Hope you guys don't miss them. Anyway, so this is another Halloween episode of Olivie Blake is not writing. I could say my own name, hence the Weasley jumper. So yeah, well, that's pretty much it. It's actually, well, it's really hot right now. I don't know if you've heard, but there are quite a lot of fires going on in Los Angeles. I believe the other day there were 4 burning simultaneously. Some of them have been put out, and some of them not so much. They're not near me. I'm fine. I'm very close to the ocean, so if I see any fire coming, I'll just abscond to the waves. Anyway, so there's a lot of fire, and Mr. Blake teaches at a school that's somewhat closer to the fires. So there's been some air quality problems. So for the second time this year, school has been canceled as a result of the poor air quality. And I made a joke about this, of course, because he is from Iowa, where they used to have many snow days. His high school was for like 15 different towns or something. I think the funniest thing I've ever heard is that his bus like came to his house. That's wild. I'm from the suburbs of San Francisco, so to me the idea that a school bus would come to your house is just like insane and kind of hilarious. So anyway, what on earth was I saying? Snow days. Oh right, so now we have hell days where it's just like you can't breathe outside. It just smells like fire and the sky is red. So hell days. We'll start with this question about my thoughts on Selena Gomez's new song. So this was asked when she had just released the first one, which was Lose You to Love Me, which just the title alone is like, we could all see where that was going, and the song was not disappointing in the slightest. The lyrics were so thoughtful and poignant. I think the thing that really stuck out to me was you sang off key in my chorus because it wasn't yours. And also the line about, I don't remember exactly what it was, but I put you first and you adored it. I know this is speaking to Selena's experience in her relationship, but I think it speaks to the female experience as a whole. I mean, I was just saying that I think I kind of lived with this presumption that if I always put him first, then he'll love me. If I always prioritize his needs, then he'll never leave. But the truth is that that's not true. That's a fallacy. And not only is it a fallacy, but that's not the only way to be loved. There are times when you can and you should put yourself first and your needs first. And there are times, if he's the right person, that he will put your needs first, and you should expect that. So this isn't really about her song. This is just, now I'm just synthesizing thoughts. But yeah, that was just something that rang really true for me, because she was obviously in a problematic relationship, and I am in a very good one. I'm in a relationship that I'm very proud of. But we still kind of felt the same way, that there are definitely some moments when you do have to expect something different out of your partner, and that should be reasonable. And that she couldn't expect that from her partner shows why she had to lose him to love her. So I thought it was thoughtful and real and poignant and great. And I loved that she followed it up with, I think it's Look at Her Now. But yeah, the bop she followed it up with was great, because it was kind of resolved the pain really well. Plus it's a bop. That's fun. So I loved them both. I thought they were both excellent. They're not quite as fun as her previous singles like Bad Liar and Fetish, but you know, she's an artist, and she's a woman, and she's an artist, and she's going to share her experience through her medium, which is music, and that's what she's doing, and she's been processing quite a lot, and it's great to watch her come through on the other side. I believe she said that she wrote this song a year ago, which makes sense. And I saw a lot of criticism of her, and the main criticism seems to be like, oh, you're better at this, like stop oversharing. But that's outrageous. It's the same criticism that Taylor Swift gets, but what are they supposed to do? They're artists. They are people. They're sharing. Selena Gomez has had basically one really intense relationship. She's really young, so this is her main experience. So yeah, all of her songs are gonna come back to Justin Bieber, and it's not, we don't get to criticize her for that. The fact that her relationship was out there for our consumption is not her fault. Also, the men in her life have told stories about her as well. Justin Bieber wrote that "Where Are You Now" song, and The Weeknd released a song that many people think is / seems very much to be about her, and no one criticized them for being too open about it. It's just this idea that because she's a woman, she should hold back her experience in order to preserve. I really don't know. We don't want to see women get emotional. Oh, good God. And these men were allowed to sing about the fact that they felt, well, "Where Are You Now" is just an outrageous song about him feeling like he was left alone by his lover. No mention of the fact that he deserved it, but whatever. But if that's an acceptable story for a man to tell, then I think that her story is perfectly acceptable. The other thing I wanted to say, I don't really want to dwell on that. It really annoys me that it's a lot of women who are criticizing her, but it does not surprise me. Just, anyway. Can you imagine if something happened to you and people were like, "Oh no, you can't write about that." Even though, yes, you're supposed to speak to all of our experiences as a whole by using your personal experience. That is what the arts are. And, but no, don't. We don't like it. We don't like how it looks on you. I've actually seen people say it's not a good look, Selena. And it's like, whoa. Anyway, so we can all agree that she shouldn't have stayed with someone who was unfaithful to her, right? I think we can all agree on that pretty easily. But I think that what gets lost in talking about what we deserve is that, yes, she was in what was pretty obviously a bad relationship, but abuse or infidelity, those are not the only reasons to leave. I have a few friends now who have ended their long-term relationships and expressed similar concerns to me, where they were like, I don't know if I should just stick it out because I feel bad. That's what it comes down to is I don't. What it comes down to is we are still the emotional caretakers for the men in our lives. And so I don't want to make him feel bad. Maybe I'm being selfish. He hasn't hurt me. He hasn't cheated on me. So what reason is there to leave? And my question to you is, what reason is there to stay? Being stuck in a relationship where you're not happy is a very, it's a niche, unusual punishment. It's a life sentence, essentially. And I don't really know why I'm bringing that up, except to say that I think that we should change our mindset a little bit. I think that often when you hear about someone breaking up with their partner, if it's the girl who did it, there's often this weird expression of like, "Is he okay?" And the thing is, like, did you ask her if she was okay during very rarely is this just an abrupt decision. Yeah, it's just, I think what gets lost in it is that, is she okay? Yeah. I don't know if enough people were asking Selena if she was okay before things went bad, or before things publicly went bad. So yeah. Just pivot a little. Just pivot. That's all. Just because it does seem to be a real thing that I've come across a lot recently. It's just this idea of like, at what point is it okay for me to admit that I'm not happy here, and that I don't get to put myself first, and that no one is putting me first. I think that's the thing that's missing, is not only is the woman not supposed to be selfish, but not often is it expected that the man will put her first, or whoever it is. So yeah, just in case you're in that sort of position and you're asking yourself questions like, but what if I never meet someone else? Or, but he hasn't done anything wrong. He just doesn't know how to love me the way I want to be loved. That's a good enough reason, I think. Plus, you're not doing him any favors if you stay. I mean, if we really want to talk about his feelings, then I might add that he could be with someone who is actually genuinely wants to be there. So, just a thought. Okay, so this is a long one in response to my rant last week. So the other day, I don't know what we were talking about with my family, but it ended with my dad and my brother saying more or less accusing me that I have comments like feminist or feminazi. I hate that term. That I have to mind my words and how I say things because I was talking to my mom about something and my comment was like that from a feminist and I didn't have to be so aggressive to my mom. She was asking a question only. I was defending myself, and so what if I'm a feminist? All the things, I was feeling like I was being attacked. They were saying that I have to mind what I say because I can come off as an extremist, because that's what they think feminists are. It felt like an attack no matter what I was saying. It ended with me crying. My dad apologized for making me cry, not for anything else, but I don't know what to do. I don't know if I just stop making comments. I don't want to censor myself, and I don't know what to do. That's why I'm writing this. Okay, well, first of all, I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that you are probably from a culture that is primarily patriarchal. This sounds like a thing that your dad and brother are weighing in on because they think they have a role. And not knowing what your culture is, I'm not going to really focus on that so much. But I will add, just imagine having the privilege to not be angry. This is what privilege is, okay? I mean, specifically when it comes to your dad and your brother, they obviously don't have the same concerns that you do. They don't feel the same way that you do because they have not been put in the same positions as you. So right up front, you have to understand that there are going to be a lot of people who don't understand your experience and aren't trying to understand your experience either. Their experience is that you are taking an extreme view. That's very funny. That's the most privileged thing I've ever heard. But anyway, and also I don't know what the argument was, so I don't know. They might, I mean, all I'm going to say is I think that you have to understand that there are some people whose minds you can change and some people who you can't. And that doesn't mean that you necessarily stop trying. Don't censor yourself, but just understand that they are not going to sympathize with you. Some people just aren't going to get it. A lot of Mr. Blake's family is really conservative, and there's nothing I could do or say to convince them that they're wrong. Because their experience is so different from mine. They live in Iowa, where they only see white people from a certain demographic. They think that everybody who's on welfare is just cheating the system because the people in Iowa, some of the people around them in Iowa are. And so that's what they think. They are in the whole Blue Lives Matter thing because they are cops and in the military, and that's what's going on there, and they don't see what's going on in LA, in New York, in Chicago. They're missing a huge part of the experience, and therefore they can never understand it, and I can't make them understand, and there's really not a lot of point to trying to change their minds. However, there is a point to continuing to say what you think. You have to try to be as calm about it as possible, which is difficult considering how much the world sucks. But when you're talking about what you think, don't make your goal to change their minds because you probably won't be able to. To be honest, it's really hard to change someone's mind. So you probably won't be doing that. But you might be giving someone the tools to refine what they think. You can't expect to change anyone's mind, but you can expect that someday you will be heard by someone who needs to hear it. And even if it's just one person where you say something and they're like, that, I know what that feels like. I can relate to that experience. I understand what she's saying. They take that and they do the same for someone else. And yeah, it's a slow process, but it's still a process and it's still something that you're part of. And you're still changing things as a whole. You having this mindset. If you haven't read The Power by Naomi Alderman, this is a weird sort of take because of how that book essentially sends the message that when you subjugate one group, they will eventually abuse another, or when you give all the power to one group of people, it always ends badly. But in the beginning of the book, this idea that ideas are they're viral, they're infectious, they get passed on from one generation to another. It often starts with young women who pass those things on, and you want to spread that around. You want to infect people with your viral feminism, but you also have to understand when people don't want it, or don't know what to do with it, or don't know what to do with it yet. It's still important to try to get people to see your experience, but also you have to be okay with the fact that that's not really how change happens. It doesn't happen in one argument. It doesn't happen in one conversation. it might not happen until you've had this conversation 20,000 times. But every time you have this conversation and every time you defend yourself, you learn a little bit better. It does something I like to call sharpening your weapon. You know, if in this case, your weapon is your ideas and your thoughts. And the more that you discuss them, even though this is probably, I think that your dad and your brother are making a very emotional argument. They're like, we don't want people to think you're extremist and therefore we're extremists. There's a lot of fear built into that, which means that it is an emotional argument, not a logical one, and you are making a logical point. Never argue logic and emotion. Emotion will never, no one will win. You can't beat emotion with logic. But the more times you say this, the thing is, once you say something, it doesn't go away. Your dad and your brother aren't going to forget that you said these things. They're going to remember, and maybe they'll think about it. Maybe they won't. But the idea that you have put this in someone's head, that every time you say it, it becomes a stronger argument and more persuasive and more concise, and every time you say it, you become more, eloquence is a weapon. Being able to talk about your feelings, to be able to express your experience to other people, that's enormous. Words have incredible power. Ideas have unstoppable power. This is how people change the world. Even if it's just an argument with your dad or your mom or your brother, it's not important. But definitely, if it hurts you, I think you got emotional in the argument as well, and you have to take that view of, they might hurt me because they're not accepting me, and that hurts, or they're not seeing my argument as equal to theirs, and that might hurt. And you kind of have to get used to the sting of knowing that some people are just never going to see your experience. This has happened to me many times. I was having lunch with I was a commercial real estate broker for a little while. I've had many lives. And it was very difficult. Working as a woman in a male-dominated industry is always very difficult for reasons that other women definitely understand. There were lots of times that people would call over my head to whatever man was nearest. There was just I would get mistaken for the secretary. People would ask me to bring them coffee, stuff like that. That's like little microaggressions that men don't pick up on because they think it's an innocent mistake, or, oh, it's reasonable. And I was expressing this to someone that I worked with, and he just didn't get it. He was like, I think that's in your head. And that's really cruel. That's a really cruel thing to say, because of course it's in my head. It's my experience. And of course you can't see it. And how lucky for you to be so privileged that you can't see it. Even if you're looking, even if I'm telling you what to look at and you still don't see it, or you think this is just me, this is just a case-by-case thing, and it's hurtful. But I made my arguments as best I could, and maybe the next time that he sees this happen to another female broker, maybe he'll recognize that I already said it. Maybe he'll recognize that it sounds like a story he heard once, and maybe it'll change his mind. But even if it doesn't, I think the fact that you're sitting here listening to this is proof that one person saying their experience can be important. So you are that important. Your ideas are that important. So don't censor yourself. Don't give them up. Just change your goal a little bit. Just understand that it can be really difficult to get people to see things that they don't want to see. La Petite Noire is available for pre-order, and this is a perfect time to bring it up because this story is very much about a woman's experience. Not immediately apparent. There are obviously many characters, and the character I'm talking about is technically the villain. Technically. I would call, she's more of an anti-hero. And yeah. There's a lot of reasons why I've transitioned directly from what I was just saying into this novella, which is approximately the same size as Midsummer Night Dreams, in case you were wondering. But, yeah. There's a lot here. I'm excited for you guys to get to read it. Hopefully, in a couple of weeks, we'll be able to talk about what I mean exactly about how these things are connected. But I don't want to spoil anything yet, because it's not available yet. It's available for pre-order. It comes out on Halloween. I will remind you, I'm sure. But yeah, so anyway, happy Halloween, happy Galloween. We'll be doing Steel Magnolias this week and having Death in the Afternoon, probably in the evening. So yeah, if you guys are doing that too, then excellent. We will be united in spirit. Okay, this has been me, Olivie Blake, not writing, and I'll see you next week.